Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're getting into a really quite visual and challenging chapter, Jeremiah 27.
Yes, it's said early in Zedekiah's reign in Judah, a very tense time.
Right. Lots of political uncertainty, Babylon looming large. And Jeremiah steps in with this message from the Lord, but the way he delivers it
Yeah.
is, well, unforgettable.
It really is. It cuts through all the noise of the day, and it's not just for Judah, surprisingly. It reaches out to the neighbors, too. And yeah, the delivery method starts with something incredibly physical.
Okay, let's jump right in then. The Lord tells Jeremiah, first off, make straps and crossbars and put them on your neck. Make an actual yoke.
Exactly, not a metaphor, a real physical yoke. Straps, crossbars, the whole thing. He has to wear it.
So before he even says much, he is the message. Walking around Jerusalem wearing this symbol of, well, servitude.
Imagine seeing that. In a city probably buzzing with talk of resisting Babylon, maybe forming alliances. Here's God's prophet wearing a yoke. It's like performance art, meant to shock people into paying attention.
Yeah, it makes the idea of submission unavoidable, doesn't it? Concrete.
Absolutely. It embodies the core message he's about to deliver.
And this message, this visual statement, wasn't just for the locals in Jerusalem.
No, that's what's really interesting. He's told to use the envoys who happened to be in Jerusalem at that time, messengers from the kings of Edom, Moab, Ammon, Tyre, and Sidon.
Ah, so these representatives are right there, maybe even discussing, a united front against Babylon.
Precisely the context, it seems. They might be plotting resistance, and Jeremiah's message, straight from the Lord, is the exact opposite.
What does he tell them? What's the core message for these surrounding kings?
Well, it starts with this huge declaration of God's power. The Lord Almighty, the God of Israel, says, and I'm paraphrasing slightly, I made the earth, the people, the animals, with my great power.
Okay, establishing authority first. He's the creator.
Right. Not just some local God, but the maker of everything. And then comes the key line, and I give it to anyone I please.
Total sovereignty.
Yeah.
He created it. He decides who runs it.
Exactly. And that leads directly to the next point. Now I will hand all your countries over to my servant Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon.
Wow. My servant Nebuchadnezzar. That phrasing. Calling this pagan conqueror God's servant. What's that about?
It's incredibly potent, isn't it? It suggests that, from God's perspective, Nebuchadnezzar, this powerful emperor, is actually an instrument carrying out God's purpose for this specific time.
Even if Nebuchadnezzar himself doesn't know it or acknowledge God.
Precisely. It reframes Babylon's dominance. It's not just military might, it's divinely permitted, even ordained for this period. The text even says, even the wild animals will be subject to him. Total control.
And it's not just a short-term thing either.
No, the message specifies a duration. All nations will serve him and his son and his grandson. That points to generations of Babylonian rule.
So establishing that hegemony for quite a while.
Yes, but interestingly, it also includes a limit. It says this will last until the time for his land comes, then many nations and great kings will subjugate him.
Ah, so Babylon's dominance isn't permanent either. Their turn under the yoke is also foretold.
Right. God appoints the power, and God also sets its limits. But for now, Nebuchadnezzar is the one he's put in charge.
Okay, so the decree is clear. Submit to Babylon, God's chosen instrument for now. What are the consequences then, based on how these nations react?
This is where it gets really stark. Two paths are laid out, linked directly to that yoke symbol. Path 1, resistance.
Refusing to bow the neck under that yoke Jeremiah is wearing.
Exactly. If a nation will not serve Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, or bow its neck under his yoke, the consequences are spelled out brutally. Sword, famine, and plague.
The classic trio of devastation.
Yes. And it culminates, the Lord says, until I destroy it by his hand, meaning Nebuchadnezzar's hand. Resistance leads to annihilation orchestrated by God through Babylon.
Total destruction and exile, Prim.
And right alongside that warning comes another. Watch out for bad advice.
Ah, the other voices in the mix.
Exactly. The Lord warns these kings specifically. So do not listen to your prophets, your diviners, your interpreters of dreams, your mediums, or your sorcerers. All these sources of counsel.
The ones telling them what they want to hear, probably. Like, you won't serve Babylon.
Precisely. God calls it out directly. They prophesy lies to you. And the result of following those lies, it will only serve to remove you far from your lands. I will banish you, and you will perish.
So these aren't just honest mistakes. They're lies leading directly to the very outcome they promised to avoid exile and death.
It's a sharp contrast. The difficult, humbling truth from God versus the easy, popular lies promising freedom.
Okay, so that's the path of resistance. What's the alternative? What if a nation does submit? if they accept the yoke.
The promise is survival. Simple as that almost. But if any nation will bow its neck under the yoke of the king of Babylon and serve him, I will let that nation remain in its own land to till it and to live there.
So it's not glorious independence, but it's life. It's staying home, working the land, existence.
Exactly. A pragmatic, if painful, path to survival versus a defiant path to utter destruction. That's the choice presented.
A really tough ultimatum. Accept foreign domination to live, or fight for freedom and be destroyed.
It requires a complete shift in thinking, doesn't it? Survival depends not on fighting harder, but on submitting to God's declared will, even when it means submitting to an enemy.
And then Jeremiah takes this exact same message, this stark choice, directly to his own king, Zedekiah, and the people of Judah.
Yes, the focus shifts home. He delivers the same instruction: bow your neck under the yoke of the king of Babylon, serve him and his people, and you will live. No special exceptions for Judah.
You can almost hear the pleading in the next line. Why will you and your people die by the sword, famine, and plague? It's like, look at the options. Why choose death?
It really emphasizes the stakes. The consequences for Judah defying this decree are exactly the same as for any other nation.
And the warning about false prophets is repeated just as strongly for Judah.
Oh, absolutely. He warns Zedekiah and the people, do not listen to the words of the prophets who say to you, you will not serve the king of Babylon, for they are prophesying lies to you.
It must have been incredibly difficult for Jeremiah, with other prophets saying the complete opposite, likely much more popular messages.
Definitely. And the Lord makes it clear these other prophets aren't speaking for him. I have not sent them, declares the Lord. They are prophesying lies in my name. That's a serious accusation.
Claiming God's authority for a lie.
Yes. And the consequence hits both the listeners and the liars. Therefore, I will banish you and you will perish, both you and the prophets who prophesy to you. Deceivers and deceived share the same fate.
Wow. Consistent message. Unyielding. Kings, people, prophets. Everyone gets the same instruction and warning. But then the chapter shifts focus slightly, doesn't it? To the temple treasures.
It does. This is really significant because it connects the political fate with the spiritual symbols at the heart of Judah's identity. Remember, Nebuchadnezzar had already deported King Jehoiachin and nobles back in 597 BC.
Right, and he took some of the temple articles then, didn't he?
Yes, some key items were already gone, carted off to Babylon. And apparently some prophets in Jerusalem were now claiming those items would be returned very soon.
Ah, probably part of their "don't worry, God will save us from Babylon" message.
Exactly. So Jeremiah is told to confront this directly. Tell the priests, tell all the people. Don't listen to those prophets saying, very soon now the articles from the Lord's house will be brought back from Babylon.
Because
the Lord declares they are prophesying lies to you. Plain and simple.
And the advice is the same again.
Oh.
Link the fate of the objects to survival.
Right. Do not listen to them. Serve the king of Babylon and you will live. Followed by that pointed question, why should this city become a ruin? Submission is presented as the only way to save Jerusalem itself from total destruction.
And then comes this really interesting challenge to those other prophets.
Yeah, it's like Jeremiah throws down the gauntlet, guided by God. He says, basically, okay, if you guys are real prophets, if you really have God's ear, then stop making false promises about the stuff that's already gone. Instead, plead with the Lord Almighty that the furnishings still remaining here in the temple and the palace don't also get taken to Babylon.
Like the pillars, the sea, the stands,
Yeah.
all the stuff Nebuchadnezzar left behind the first time.
Exactly. It's a logical challenge. If you have influence with God, use it to protect what's still here, not boast about impossible restorations.
Because the truth, according to the Lord, was that the remaining items were not safe either.
Precisely. The final declaration from the Lord Almighty about those remaining items, the pillars, the sea, the stands, all of it is sobering. They will be taken to Babylon, and there they will remain until the day I come for them, declares the Lord.
So even the remaining sacred treasures have to go into exile, under the yoke, so to speak. They share the fate of the people if they resist.
Yes, it links everything together. But notice that crucial last part, until the day I come for them.
Oh, that glimmer of hope again. It's not forever.
Right, it doesn't end with loss. The very next words are, then I will bring them back and restore them to this place. So exile isn't the end of the story for the people or the sacred objects.
But the restoration is on God's timetable, until the day I come for them, not based on the false prophets' promises of very soon now.
Exactly. It puts the hope firmly in God's sovereign timing and action, not in wishful thinking or human effort against the current reality.
Okay, let's try and connect the dots here for the listener. What are the big takeaways from this chapter? It's pretty heavy stuff.
It really is. I mean, first off, you get this radical claim of God's control over everything, even international politics,
Yeah.
using empires like Babylon as his servants for a time. History isn't just random power plays.
Yeah, that idea that human power, even massive empires, operates within God's larger plan, that's huge.
And then there's that stark contrast between truth and lies. Jeremiah's truth is hard. It's humbling, submit to the enemy. The lies are easy, patriotic, promising freedom. It really makes you think about how hard it is to discern truth in a crisis, especially when the truth hurts.
And the choice itself. Survival linked to submission. It kind of goes against our instinct to always fight for freedom, doesn't it? But here, God says the path to life is accepting the yoke.
It's a very specific instruction for a specific time, but yes, it challenges that notion. Is it pragmatism, a test? It's complex.
And you see how everything is tied together, the king's fate, the peoples, the land, the city, even the holy objects from the temple. One response, one shared destiny under God's decree.
Totally interconnected. And finally, that crucial element of hope. It's not denied, but it's deferred. It's tied to God's timing the day I come for them. Restoration is promised, but it requires enduring the present difficulty, trusting God's future action, not immediate fixes or false promises.
It's quite a message. Powerful, unsettling, but ultimately, yeah, there's that thread of hope running through it. Makes you think about obedience when it demands humility and how easy it is to follow voices that just tell you what you want to hear.
Absolutely. And maybe the thought to leave with, for all of us navigating our own complex times is this. When you're facing immense pressures and there are all these competing voices telling you what to believe or do, how do you tell the difference? How do you spot the difficult truth that might actually lead to survival versus the comforting lie that feels good now but leads to ruin down the line?
And what does real hope look like? Is it always about immediate rescue, or can it be about trusting in a future restoration, even if the timing isn't ours to decide?
Deep questions prompted by Jeremiah's yoke.